We've got development controversy in Upper Darby, Westchester, and Broomall, and a new elementary school being built in Tredeffen, Easttown, and Berwyn. And all this development raises a lot of questions for people living in the greater Philadelphia area, and we're going to cover all this next. If you like what you hear, you get some value out of this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team about how this might impact your real estate decisions, use the link in the comments. So, development and housing affordability is a major issue right now in the Philadelphia suburbs specifically, and I wanted to zone in on Chester and Delaware County here because there's been some recent news that just recently was reported the past couple weeks here in Chester and Delaware counties about what's going on. So the first is there's a proposed affordable housing development that's stirring a lot of controversy in Westchester Borough. So it's a 100-unit affordable housing proposal that is supposed to be built on the area where the Westchester Growers Market is currently located, basically like a farmer's market. It's at the corner of Church and Chestnut Streets, and it's a 5-story building that would add 102 units and 30 parking spaces and 3,000 square feet of retail space on the first floor at street level. And there was a presentation earlier this month in front of the Smart Growth Committee, and there was a lot of people complaining. There was standing room only, and most of the residents of Westchester are expressing opposition to moving the market. And now there's a decision that's slated to be made at the end of May. Now, the developer Penrose, they argued that essential workers are being priced out of Westchester and that affordable housing is 10 times what is currently available in terms of the need for affordable housing and the demand. So this is a story to watch here because one of the challenges we've had when you hear about affordable housing is the lack of inventory and the lack of new builds. And we are plagued by that more than other parts of the country in the greater Philadelphia area because everything's already been developed here. So now we've got people wanting to stop 100 new homes, 100 new housing units coming to Westchester Borough. I would be shocked if this gets approved. That's my opinion here with all this opposition, but we've seen this happen before. The same thing happened in Ardmore a few years ago, right by the train station where they built some residential apartments, and those ended up going through, and the township meeting went to like 2 in the morning. So that was pretty wild. So that's the first piece of controversy. The second, and this is good news, this is also in Chester County, Tredeffen and Easttown School District. This is Berwyn, Devon, Wayne, those areas. They are opening a 6th elementary school. That's pretty incredible to have 6 elementary schools. And they recently bought a property in Berwyn for expansion. It's located at 1200 West Sweetsford Road and is slated to open in the fall of 2027. And, this is really a testament to the amount of growth that we've seen, the amount of demand to be in a great public school district like Tredeffen and Easttown. And, these schools are getting overcrowded. The same thing just happened in Lower Merion School District, which is, further into the main line, where they built a 3rd middle school, and then they moved middle school up to 5th grade. My son was one of the newer 5th graders that went to middle school this past year, and that's a little bit of a shock for parents. Hey, instead of being in elementary school, you're going to middle school at that age, and this is more of that happening because there's such a demand to get in these school districts, and you're seeing people that are just renting homes, buying homes, doing anything they can to get their kids enrolled because they want to make sure they get into the right school system. So that's a great thing, and there's going to be more detailed information coming out of this during some public meetings in the coming months. A 6th elementary school is pretty incredible, and we're going to talk about what all this means here at the end. The next piece of news is that Marple Township, their Board of Commissioners, rejected Delaware County's attempt to use a portion of the former Don Guanella property as a mental health facility, and commissioners voted to rezone the entire 213-acre property as open space. So, mental health institution, obviously there's a need for those places. Here's the problem with this. They want open space. That does nothing to fill the housing needs locally. Again, Marple Township's another area where there's a ton of demand and not a lot of inventory right now. And there's going to be another special meeting that takes place next week on Monday the 22nd to ratify the decision, and residents basically like showed up in droves, just like what happened in Westchester, to show their disapproval with the county's plan for the mental health facility at the newly renamed Delco Woods Park, which only became public in recent weeks. And the front of the property is zoned institutional, and the wooded section in the back is zoned residential. So, and this fight's been ongoing for 10 years, since 2014, to prevent developers from taking the property, and township's officials thought it was settled in 2021 when the county began efforts to take it through eminent domain. And the intentions were to acquire the property for public reasons, according to Joe Rufo, the commissioner's president. And then what happened after that is they began rezoning and set hearings on the plans, and lawyers from the county filed an application for a use certificate. So this has been ongoing back and forth. There's township officials have voted to deny the certificate of use, and the lawyer for the county, Nick Caniglia, he said that the county paid $22 million for the site. It's a big number, and has no problem against rezoning of the residential section, but does oppose the rezoning of the institutional section. So here's the problem with this. Yeah, okay, we want the institutional section rezoned, fine, but they oppose that, but they don't want to rezone the residential section, and it's not even a big facility. They're talking about 28 beds, 16 beds for one, and 12 for the other site, and then they're keeping 170 acres of parkland, which is great. But again, this is an opportunity to maybe take a portion of that, maybe make it mixed use, like what they're talking about in Westchester, letting folks develop this, because, again, we're having a challenge with affordable housing. So you're seeing a trend here, right? No one wants to do this, but then we've got new build problems that are happening across the area. So before we get into what's going on at 69th Street, which I think this is going to be good news for a lot of people in Upper Darby and the surrounding areas, until townships start to be willing to zone for affordable housing, until boroughs and local governments are willing to do that, just like in Westchester, without the opposition of local residents, we're going to continue to have this housing shortage because of people locked in with lower rates. We're seeing that there's significantly less new homes coming into the market than in the past, and we're going to have to see inventory grow a little bit here. So this is one of the challenges that you can make your voice heard if you want to, but you got to go to these meetings, which are horrible to attend. So here's the good news. I like the new elementary school in T. I think that's a smart move. You don't want the schools to be overcrowded. I also like this piece of news, that Upper Darby is hearing SEPTA's $75 million plan for 69th Street. So SEPTA is the local transportation organization, and the SEPTA officials at a recent Upper Darby Township Council meeting, they presented their master plan for $75 million in improvements to 69th Street, which is the second busiest transit hub in the SEPTA system. SEPTA's Deputy Chief Planning Officer, Ryan Judge, he said there are three main goals that SEPTA wants to accomplish: modernize the facility, optimize the use of space, and simplify passenger and transit movement in the terminal. The terminal is 115 years old, and there's multiple projects that they're working on in the coming years, including the new cars for the Market Frankfurt L line, as well as new light rail vehicle trolleys that are easier to board. And they're really just planning to upgrade this. And if you've ever been down by 69th Street, it's a zoo down there because of how many people use that terminal. I mean, you heard it's the second busiest terminal they have. State Senator Tim Kearney also asked about the plan to include a parking garage at the south side parking lot, and urged SEPTA to consider transit-oriented housing, which I think would be great. I'd also like to see some more development going on down there, because you've got the Tower Theater, which is a big attraction, and maybe you see some people develop some things and open some commercial space that would be a lot more attractive and clean that area up. So I like the idea of this getting upgraded. Hopefully they can continue to upgrade the community there, but you've got to make sure these public transit stations are in good shape, because if they're not, you've got a lot of challenges. So we're seeing a lot of development happen here. The reality is we've got an older infrastructure in our marketplace, and to see new elementary schools, new public transit construction, that's a great thing. Let's hope the local governments work towards some more affordable housing and don't see this opposition like we're seeing in Broomall and in Westchester.